Hi everybody, welcome back to another live edition of the Village Camera Nerd. Today we're really excited to be talking about the VAZEN 40mm 1.8x Anamorphic. I don't have it with me in front of me right here because I'm doing a joint review with Marcus Valerio over here. Say hi, Marcus.
There it is.
He has it right there. We're socially distanced, so I can't just simply... Oh, I have to grab like this. Give it back! Give it back!
Yeah.
So this is our first impressions with the lens. So Marcus literally just picked this up yesterday from me.
Yeah.
In social distance, contactless pickup in these crazy times, in these troubled times. So he is literally having first impressions. I had it for about a week and was able to do some lab tests. And then Marcus is about to do actual practical tests, shooting a little scene with them because all I have are a kid, cats, and a wife that doesn't want to be on camera. So Marcus is going to be our man for actual putting it into filmmaking. But I want to hear, first of all, Marcus, what is your first 24 hours in first impression of the VAZEN lens?
Yeah, well, I mean, you say 24 hours, but I mostly only had it for like an hour, and then I had to do other stuff yesterday. So, but it's just incredibly front heavy compared to it's just a heavy lens in general. But like it's really nice. Focus range are really nice. I'm really excited to get my hands on this and actually
your hands are on it.
Yeah, hands are on it, but actually use it,
yes.
on a project.
Awesome, cool. So what do you have planned actually for the project?
Well, I say we, because my girlfriend and my roommate, who are also in the industry, we're trying to write a small story that we can try to film in our house or very minimal outside, just on our neighborhood or something.
Cool.
But yeah, we're trying to write something that we can shoot really quickly because we don't have that much time with this. And
we're going to give you a bit of editing time before we actually show it in the review. That's towards the end of this month. But I think most lab test answers of what people are wondering in terms of nerding out on are here. So actually, Marcus gets to see some of the qualities of this lens with you guys because he's only had it for technically 1 hour of use. So first of all, let me introduce the lens itself with this website of theirs. And you see a little picture of me. Apparently, I can't get both me and Marcus onto as a picture-in-picture here. But it is $3,250. So that is twice the price-ish of a GH5, which is what most people will be using this on. Of course, there's the Bouquet 4K that you can put it on as well. I like to just say it that way. I don't like to say BMPCC 4K.
It's a mouthful.
4K. Anyway, so the Bouquet 4K, but however that crops in, it gives you pretty much the same, or actually in Micro Four Thirds less field of view than the GH5 would give you. So I prefer to put it on that. So, but I like to tell myself that a lot of the anamorphic lenses out there are actually a lot more expensive than the cameras that you would put them on. So, so double the price of what you would be putting it on. Okay, fair enough. So, I don't have $3,250 in my bank account right now. Well, okay, not for camera gear.
Not for camera gear, exactly.
Because we're not working. So let's go ahead and, oh, hey, Lance, how's it going? Thanks for joining us. So, and I don't know if this is spam bot or something like that because it's just simply so great. But there are auto commenters out there. So, Lance, comment again to make sure we know you're not a spam bot. Because, we don't want to go like, oh my God, we have a viewer. Okay, let's go to the very first video that I have here to play back. And Marcus has already confirmed what he had in mind here. So yeah, you can see by the mount that, okay, a usual Micro Four Thirds lens would be that tube on the back end. So look at that big fat front end over there. Yep. But I mean, most anamorphic lenses need that space because of this element right here. Now, This is technically considered a front mount element, but because it would cost way too much to create that glass, Lance is real. Oh my God, let me put him. He's a real person. Hi, Lance. Thank you for being a real person on this broadcast. Okay, so let me pause right there. So yeah, the Micro Four Thirds. I was saying that's kind of a mid mount because to save money, they kind of have to push that element in the back. Let me scroll back here, so that it is more inset. So it doesn't have to be as big. So there's a front, very very front element. Then there's a squeeze element of it. So imagine how expensive this would be if it was like a fully front element thing. So just take that into consideration. All right, so a bit of what this little part of the video is that it actually wiggles a little bit still on the mount. This is not a PL mount quality kind of a connection, but it is much less play than a usual Micro Four Thirds lens, in my opinion.
I hadn't noticed that.
Yeah. Let me go over to Marcus right now, and he can actually show you what he has going on here.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Yeah. On your camera, is it the same as well? A little jiggle?
It's so slight, I can't even tell, really.
Yeah. I just wonder if my camera was just beat up or something like that. Okay, let's go back to the video. It restarted. Okay, so when you actually rig it on, it becomes a pretty front-heavy rig here. It goes from a little fun GH5 to like people will think you're holding a gun if you just go shooting an event or just going incognito guerrilla style. Now this is one thing I think is both great and not so great is the 300-degree focus throw.
Yeah, so it's not great for a single shooter. But yeah,
absolutely. That was what I was thinking the whole time. It's like, oh my god, it's taking forever to do a focus pull. And okay, so a funny thing is that pulling right off the barrel was easier as a single shooter. When you put it onto a follow focus, it just becomes kind of crazy. It's like, oh my god, I need to crank or something, and I'm jiggling the camera each time. But because there's an extra bit of tightness behind that. Let's see. Let's fast forward. But however, thankfully the aperture is not 300 degrees. But it is not exactly accurate. I'm going to be showing a test of what I found out and exactly how off it is in a little bit. So yeah. So anything you'd like to add just by the ergonomics, Marcus, before we move on?
Just the ergonomics. I mean, I already said it. And you said it's really front heavy. So when you have it, when you're holding it, it's wanting to go forward. When it's on the tripod, it's wanting to go forward. It's you just kind of have to try to balance that out. But
yeah. So if you have a bare bones rig, just keep that in mind that you probably need to get a super long plate, some kind of maybe a midsection mount for the tripod or something like that in order to counterbalance that. But handheld with a mini rig without a battery pack in the back or whatever like that, it is pretty front heavy. Now, I just want to get to the part that everybody is tuning in for, the flare. Shall we get to the flare, Marcus?
Sure, go for it.
I think people are like, shut up, show me the flare. All right, so here is the flare, people. Okay, first we're starting with the SLR Magic Anamorphic, just to give you a baseline. So this has a not so cool flare in terms of color. And it's not super heavy, but when you get to the VAZEN, it's like, whoa.
Those are J.J. Abrams flares right there.
I know, total J.J. Abrams. It's insane. And it's like, well, if you don't want flares, don't get this lens. But if you want flares, get this lens. Oh, sorry, I'm totally blocking. My head is totally blocking that. So, yeah, I mean, compared to the adapter, the SLR Magic adapter, this is the bee's knees. Now, this is slightly softer. Like, I flooded that flashlight a little bit, and you still get pretty strong flares there. And I also took it out during nighttime and found it pretty easy to get flares off of nighttime light sources. But here's a little bit slightly off-camera flaring over there. And people tuning in person, please do... oh, hey, one person right now. So, Lance, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to jump in. So yeah, you can see, really easy stuff. So take off those French flags on your matte box. Eyebrow is probably good to have unwanted washout, but otherwise, it's pretty cool. So I suggest to Marcus, have a flashlight handy.
Oh yeah. That's actually one of the first things I did. So I did shoot a few clips, and then I had a flashlight, and I just like put it around the house and just handheld walked it around, see what the flare looked like, and yeah. Flaw
Pretty
looks really
exciting,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely exciting. So people that came here just for the flare, I'm going to replay that a few times throughout. So if you want to see that again. But I do want to talk about sharpness as well. Sometimes people don't really care about the sharpness of an anamorphic lens so much because there is a bit of character. The character is in imperfections, right? But let's see just how imperfect this is in this test that I did. Okay, let's turn on our mics here. Forgot to unmute those. So this is just my backyard, and I zoomed in about 200 or more percent on the branches on the left. And I could pause this if it's not staying on long enough. But as you can see, T2, T2.8, and T4, are generally, that little ramp of as it goes from soft on the edges into sharpness. And in T5.6 is when you start getting towards tack sharp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But at T16, I start to see a bit of diffraction. It starts to fuzz up again. So that's just a little bit of something. But T2.8 seems to be a good balance of character and sharpness to me, and you'll see that in a little bit. But let's take a look at this fence test in my front yard. That is my front yard, people. Just kidding. It's owned by the city. All right, so T2, yeah, a little bit soft in the center. T2.8 getting a little bit better, and T4 in the center is where it's the bee's knees in terms of sharpness. At T4, you still do get decent bokeh with things that are pretty front if you are at minimum focus distance. T5.6 is where you want to stick around at. Okay, let me fast forward over to my kitty test. That's Shemp the cat. He is turning 6 years old soon. He's a little oldie. So at T2, you could see with an organic matter like Shemp, it is kind of soft. T2.8 is when, okay, looking good. Still have character, but looking good. T4, yeah, pretty sharp edges on his eyebrows and stuff. And after that, I don't think it's really necessary to get any sharper unless you need it for exposure. So my recommendation for people that still want plenty of detail is T2.8 and T4. So, yeah. But what do you think, Marcus? What do you see? What do you see?
Well, the broadcast from my end is it's
Oh,
all
yeah,
it's
yeah,
all
you're going
it's all
virtual camera.
soft, so it's kind of hard for me to tell. I'll have to check it out later.
Okay, yeah, and I could actually shoot these over to you as well. But let's also go straight to the next thing. I don't want to extend our time slot too much, my arbitrary time slot. Let's take a look at breathing. Actually, a lot of people are wondering about breathing because they consider that a bad thing. So there's my family in the back eating unwanted models, and there is Buzz Lightyear in the front. As you can see on the left, if I play that back again, actually.
Sorry, I was going to say, you don't consider the breathing a bad thing?
It's like a character to me. You know, it's as long as it's not like a freaking zoom lens, it's okay for me. And here's a shorter, it's closer, but a shorter. You still see how things on the edges become. Let me play back again. Things on the edges do kind of get cropped when you, focus further, and then get revealed going back. So if there's stuff on set that you don't want to reveal, sure, that is a consideration and could be a bit of a bummer. But honestly, I could live with that kind of breathing.
It doesn't seem too bad.
Yeah, like
what I can see.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell me, Marcus, after you've actually played with it and have to deal with focus pulling and being conscious of things on the edges. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you don't think it's too bad?
From what I saw, it doesn't seem too bad. So I think like what you said, it kind of adds character. But if it's too much, it's kind of more of a problem than character. And I think there's a line somewhere in there.
Yeah, now I haven't seen any breathing that has been too problematic in actual Hollywood films, but it's just something that I've gotten used to when watching J.J. Abrams movies. Hey, you guys are here because you watch J.J. Abrams movies, and you're like, I want to do that too. Just don't lie about it. That's so there's that. You see that it's not something that does not exist in films that are multi-million budget that are out there. So that's why it kind of doesn't bug me if it's something that isn't kind of recognizable in the big budget films. Then it's like, that's something. Why do I want that quality to it? But yeah, let's move on to the other thing, sexy thing that people want to hear about, which is bouquet balls. So I just did string lights, and this is the closest 2.7 feet focus at about 6 feet away. Yeah, the magical 6 feet these days. And you can see that the bouquet balls are nice and oval. Very nice, but they could be bigger. And here is about like 12, 15 feet. It's not getting much bigger. So if you want like pretty big bouquet balls in the distance, you probably need bigger light sources bigger light sources or have it much further away. Now, big bokeh balls come in when you have it right in front of the frickin' lens. So if you really want those fat bokeh balls, absolutely get some string lights just that don't flicker and push them in front. And you'll see a little clip of me waving them in front. Sorry, I burped on live TV. So, yeah. Oh yeah, there I am jiggling it around a little bit. Yeah, Marcus, if you have string lights, definitely play around with that a little bit.
Yeah, I think I have some string lights. I'll have to see if I can incorporate them. I think I'm just going to try to incorporate a bunch of different aspects and try to make it fit the story.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it doesn't have to make sense with the story, right? As J.J. Abrams made obviously clear. Oh, hey, a little compression artifact there. I don't know why I did that. So there's smearing here and there with the bokeh, which in my book just adds character. I don't know if anybody doesn't like that at all. Let me show that. But in the back here, you can see a little bit of curvature to the bokeh on the edges over there. So that's an interesting quality. Overall, I think that the characteristics of this lens are is what you're looking for out of trying to get an anamorphic look in your film. So from your first impressions of my first impressions, what are you thinking? How do you think you're going to be augmenting some of these pros and cons in the film that you have kind of scripted together to shoot?
Well, we're still writing the script, so we're going to I think we'll just have like a list of, like, I want to show off the flare. I want to try to do some of the string lights or the fairy lights, and then I'll try to write that into as I'm building it. Writing the story. So I don't know.
Yeah. So you are still in the phase in which you could customize it for the lens.
Yes, exactly.
Do it. Okay, Lance actually asks right here if it would show up. Okay. Based on your impressions with this lens, Michael, who do you recommend this lens is for? Well, as Marcus and I have kind of mentioned, it is kind of big and front heavy, so people that need to balance their camera on a little handheld gimbal probably should not consider it. If you have like a Ronin, just a straightforward Ronin or Movi, then sure, you might be able to get it to work. Just the ergonomics. I think the main detractor is ergonomics. What do you think, Marcus?
Yeah, the main detractor would be the ergonomics. So it would be more for narrative work that you have the time where you can spend on setting the scene up. So if you're doing live events, that'd be really difficult with this lens. But yeah, for narrative work or commercial work where you have all day to shoot, I think it would work. It would work well.
Yeah, I think so. I would want to bring it on like everything. And well, I don't know if corporate shoots would really benefit from it, but commercials for like
you can make
clothing,
it work.
Lifestyle, stuff.
Lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, in which you have some control, but if you're going guerrilla and you don't want to look like too impressive, it might show. So I would say things in which you won't get arrested for, would be good. I would want to use this lens on everything that I won't get arrested for or fail at getting focus or even just carrying the lens around, which is Nix's events, as Marcus said, and anything that is not allowed.
It'd be a little hard to go incognito with this.
Sorry, say again?
Yeah, I was agreeing with you. It's a little hard to go incognito with this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's smaller than putting Alexa Mini out there, but there are
That's
smaller anamorphic lenses in which from like Kowa that keep that compact. So this is actually a bit smaller than a Alexa Mini setup, but of course you don't have to put too many accessories on this one to just get going and shooting. So I was actually afraid to go out to the park to do some of the shots because I'm there wearing a mask, as I should be, and with something that looks like a freaking like gun, you know, in the dark, which is where I wanted to get the flares. So I'm like, I'm gonna.
You're
keep
out
a
at night.
Yeah. So it's a little conspicuous. Okay, so one question that I just want to put up there, but I don't know the answer to that actually. But I am in contact with VAZEN. I will ask them if this will be available in India anytime this year. So I know the 40mm just recently became available as a special order. So the 28 actually came out earlier, I think. So yeah, I'll ask with VAZEN about that. And we have a comment from Lance. Interesting. I'm in Canada, so it's uber expensive, and I'm trying to figure out where it would fit into my productions and if it's worth the investment. I would say if it is kind of a niche you're trying to carve in terms of a look, it can separate you. But I don't know if it's something to go into debt for if you aren't ready to purchase it and you just want to shove it in front of people's faces without the income and go like, look, I make anamorphic. You know, it's I think something fun to rent. You know, for projects.
It'd be
but it's priced to own.
Really good
it's
rental.
Just priced to own. Yeah, sorry, Marcus, you were saying?
It's really good rental, but yeah, it's not terribly expensive in terms of anamorphic lenses, right? So it's like $3,000, right?
Yeah.
So it's feasible to buy it and then even collect the set, right? There's 3 of them that's supposed to come out in total.
Yeah.
It's definitely feasible.
Yeah, I look forward to 65 because the 65 would allow close-up. So it's like your 28 is your wide, 40, and then the 65 for close-up. So it's, I think, for $10,000, it's actually and that $10,000 is the price of an Atlas Orion lens. And that was already considered a price to buy. So this is, relatively speaking, a pretty good price. But relative to your pocket, it is still $3,000. So there's that in consideration. And then Angad says, thank you so much. I really want this in India. A lot of my friends who are indie filmmakers want to get this here. Okay, awesome. Yeah. If you got the budget for this is a pretty fun lens, I have to say. And if it works, you know, I would love it to be smaller, but, you know, both me and Marcus would love it to be smaller. The 28 looks to be nice and dinky. I can't wait for that to be available for us to try out. Okay, before we field any more questions and comments, I want to show just a flaw. We are an honest film gear review channel. As you saw with Osmo Pocket, we were like, this is cool, but we wouldn't buy it, right?
No.
So, and some people just love the stuff still, but we are going to give our honest thoughts. Now, there is an issue I briefly mentioned that has to do with the T-stop markings, and this may not matter for GH5 shooters, but for like people that come from the cinematography world that are moving and going like, okay, price to buy, and it's a cinema lens, great. The assumption is that the T-stops are accurate stop to stop to stop, you know, because you want the light transmission to be accurate measures so that when you switch between lenses that also use T-stop, you know, that it would be consistent. It may not matter for some people that are just shooting by themselves and they're just going by eye and their scopes. But in this case, when I was actually testing the aperture and sharpness test, I noticed a brightness difference, even though I was compensating shutter speed a stop as I closed down the aperture a stop. I assumed that it would be the exact same brightness throughout, but it varied a little bit. So, and I found out this varied as much as 2/3 of a stop, but, you know, about 1/3 of a stop as well. So between 1/3 and 2/3 of a stop. So people that are relying on the markers on the lens know that they aren't 100% accurate. So that you may have to just rely on your IRE. And if you want a really quick change of, you know, if you want to change aperture depth of field but want to keep the same exposure, don't rely on those t-stops too closely. So let me move over to the corrected. So this is me correcting following the IRE. It should look like this. So, but I talked to VAZEN and they said that it's not necessarily perfect within all lenses, and so is the case with this one. So I guess especially when you're not talking about an $80,000 lens, don't expect for the t-stops to be precise, and do actually check your exposure instead of following the markers exactly. However, when I was based on T16, starting with the IRE levels on T16, it looks like things were a little bit more consistent with only, let's see, moving forward to what was compensated. T4 and T11 needing adjustment. T2 was darker than T16 when compensated with shutter speed, but it is actually not adjustable because T2 is wide open. So obviously, so we can't really, adjust for that except in post. So for me, that's not a deal breaker. Marcus, what do you think?
No, you made a good point. It's like when you think about the price of this, it's not going to be 100% perfect in comparison to the more expensive ones, the ones that cost an entire car. But so yeah, that's definitely, you can live with that. It doesn't seem too bad. So, but it's good to know. It's definitely good to know.
Yeah. So make note, people that are thinking about plopping down money right now on this, or for example, Angad, who thanks for letting us know about that technical issue earlier. But if you have to wait for it and pine for it, just know that what little variations in terms of the markers are. I haven't tested the markers on the focus. For people like us shooting on GH5, that doesn't really matter that much either. We just appreciate the markers to refer to. It's like, okay, this is what was in focus. Is that we don't bust out tape measure that often, really. Yeah. We just, it's like just consistent focus between full pulls, no, what do you call it, fly-by-wire focus or anything like that, and something that we can refer to is great. So yeah, that's my first impressions and my first tests. Any closing comments from you, Marcus, before we go and just shoot the shit? Or sorry, I should have bleeped because my wife and my daughter could have been watching. They probably
so you didn't test the focus marks?
No, I did not. So that's something that you could take a look at on.
I can take a look at it. Make sure it's accurate.
Yeah, measuring tape from wherever that little focus point on the camera is, pull it forward. Yeah, whatever. If that's even the thing that you do, come on, GH5 shooters.
Oh, there it is.
We just love having frickin' anamorphic mode that's not 1.33x. Oh, another thing, Marcus discovered. Tell me your discovery about adjusting for 1.8x. Actually.
Oh, yeah, I had about like an hour or so with this yesterday. I shot a few clips in the living room, put it in Premiere because I just wanted to see what it looked like. And Premiere, I was having a little trouble trying to de-squeeze it. They have an option for 2x squeeze, 1.33x squeeze, but no option that I could find for 1.8. I threw it in Resolve though, and there's 1.8, no issue. So
yeah. Why is that not in Premiere Pro? I thought it was just that this aspect ratio didn't exist or something like that. But yeah, I thought, and I could understand 1.8x would be much easier to make that squeeze element than the 2x squeeze. That's why 1.33x lenses are cheaper. So I was like, okay, do I just have to in Premiere Pro and any other software just have to like do the math?
Stretch it.
Yeah, just stretch it. Yeah. But thankfully, Resolve. Thank you, Blackmagic, for making that a little easier for us Resolve editors. I am not a Resolve editor, but I'm interested in looking into that.
Yeah, I've been meaning to start learning the Resolve workflow for editing.
Yeah, it looks really cool. I really like how they did it. Made the whole interface, made the whole workflow. So who knows? Maybe you could tell us all about your discoveries of switching from Premiere to Resolve in another separate episode entirely. All right, cool.
Yeah. I think I'll edit the story that I shoot with this lens in Resolve, and I'll just document my experience editing on there.
Absolutely. And so much easier just clicking a button instead of like doing math in order to make it de-squeeze. Any
Yeah, result makes it
diopters?
easy.
I don't know actually. Any diopters? Let me. I'll ask with VAZEN any compatible diopters, but I didn't see any on their website from my. Okay, hold on. Let me show you the screen capture. There is a step-up ring for 95mm screw-in filters, small rig lens support for 15mm rods, which is actually what is sitting on the rig that Marcus has right now. Let's see. They don't really have a ton. Listed, they have 3 lenses. All right, 3 lenses here. Yeah, but I didn't see any diopters. So that's their 3 products and whatever comes with it. That 28 looks so good. Look at how small that is in comparison. And that's not even to scale. Hold on, let me try to click into it. Oh, come on. That's not even to scale, as you can see in. Or is it to scale? I'm not sure, but yeah, it doesn't look like the mounts are the same size on the bottom over here. So it's nice little dinkalicious, and looks like the front element is right in front, which helps with the size as well, and that's kind of needed for a wide lens as opposed to this one.
Right.
So at least not officially from VAZEN, I don't see any diopters, but I'll ask if there are any compatible diopters that they would recommend in order to get, closer. What I would use a diopter for is, just to get even tighter than the 2.7. If am I thinking about the right thing? Or I might be confusing my tech. I'm not that much of a nerd as much as I say I'm a village camera nerd. So, yeah. So this right now is just chatting it up, guys. So if you have any questions or whatever, requests for stuff for us to test out, for Marcus to try out, please leave them in the comments if you're watching this pre-recorded, or just talk to us right now in the chat box right there. And how many viewers do we got? We got 2, so I'm surprised Trevor has not showed up. But Lance, are you still here? Where are you people? So who's your cast anyway, Marcus, for the shoot?
My cast would be Emily, my girlfriend, and maybe Tom. You met Tom before.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, these are the people I have working that I can use in a quarantine. So I'm just gonna run around with them.
Yeah, willing specimens, unlike what I have here. I
mean,
have cats. Yeah.
I might even make an appearance if we have to.
Yes, we got Marcus. Nice. Flare it up, absolutely. I did promise that I would replay the flare so we could just continue chatting while it's flaring up. Okay, here's the SLR Magic, which I own. It is I was able to get it for $800 off of eBay, so that's a lot more affordable. It usually goes for $1,100 though, but of course, look at those blue flares. Oh my.
Yeah,
delicious.
The SLR Magic didn't really flare much at all.
No, yeah, it needs a diopter on it in order to really flare, which I find kind of weird. So if you are going to get the SLR Magic, you got to pony up like $1,300 to get one of the diopter kit. It's cheaper to get as a kit instead of like buying them separately. Yeah. So yeah, and you can see, it's very slight flare on SLR Magic. It's not the flare central kind of lens. So I think this is. Yeah, the blue sometimes shows up a little bit posterized or weird, depending on the camera or the LUT/color profile, whatever. So, a little bit of experimentation, but it is blue. Definitely blue.
Very blue.
So that's considered the modern flare. I think the SLR Magic has a bit more of the older flare. Let me get back to that. The older anamorphic flare, which wasn't so heavy. And they actually coated the lenses back then in a way in which it was warmer and was not meant to flare. But of course, as you can see, in VAZEN, those days are gone.
They know what people want.
Yeah, we know what the public wants, and we're bringing it to you. All right. It doesn't look like the chat room is too busy, and we have already gone over our hopeful 30-minute time. So thanks everybody for watching, and thanks for joining Marcusto. And then you guys make sure to set a reminder for the full in-depth review that includes Marcus's film and a few extra tests that I had been holding on to, dear to my heart. And just go into the playlist of the live gear stream and then set a reminder. And of course, like and subscribe to know when we go live. And please do join us or watch it after the fact. Like, subscribe. Okay, thank you everybody. And you guys have a great day. And please stay safe. All right, bye-bye.
All right, thank you.